Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. You want the truth? Results are the truth, not the slogan on your wall, not the story you tell at dinner. The effective truth of your life is measured in what happens when you act. When pressure rises, when no one claps, you judge others by outcomes, numbers delivered, promises kept, deals closed. But you judge yourself by intentions, by what you meant to do, by the almost. That is the first pretty lie. I tried becomes a perfume you spray on failure. It smells noble, but it builds nothing. The world is unmoved by your wishes. It answers only to your outcomes. So look at the scoreboard of your last year. What did you actually build? Which habits did you break? Who can call you at midnight because you're reliable, not adorable? This is the audit that hurts, the one that strips your favorite adjectives. You don't get credit for hopes. You don't get interest on excuses. If your life were a city, would the streets be paved, or would they be slogans painted on gravel? The effective truth cuts like winter air, clean, cold, and impossible to ignore. It says, measure what you do, reward what works. What works beats what sounds good. You already rely on this standard when it costs you nothing. You hire the contractor who finishes the job, not the one with the prettiest brochure. You trust the friend who shows up, not the one who crafts lyrical apologies. You keep the employee who ships, not the one who dazzles in meetings. Yet you let yourself off the hook because your motives were pure. You protect pride instead of standards. You polish the mask and neglect the work. The gap between how you want to be seen and how you actually behave, that is where you lose power. Close the gap and your life hardens into something dependable. Leave it open and your days leak away. Power begins with clear seeing. Picture your mind as a foggy city at dawn. Lamps glow on empty streets. Shapes move, but you can't tell if they're friends or thieves. You stumble because you're guessing. Then the light rises. You notice the alley where your time disappears, the market where you trade attention for nothing, the gate you never lock because you fear disappointing someone. You see how often you say yes to avoid conflict and later, to avoid effort. Self-command starts there, in the ruthless inventory of behavior. Not your beliefs, not your posts, not your playlist of inspiring speeches, your behavior. What you do under pressure is your constitution. What you repeat daily is your law. Clarity is not a mood. It's a measurement for 7 days. Write down exactly where your hours go. Track the first hour after waking and the last hour before sleep. Who gets your best energy? Which tasks actually move the stone up the hill? When you measure complacency cracks, you discover that busy was camouflage. You discover that comfort has been taxing you at the highest rate. The fog thins, streets appear. You see detours you've taken for years, and you realize hope without discipline is just weather. Pleasant in the morning, gone by noon. Most people live as courtiers. They perform affection, trade flattery, and bow to the throne of approval. Smiles become currency. Silence becomes policy. You learn to say the agreeable thing, to carry yourself like a safe bet, to never risk the look that says you are difficult. You curate an image and call it virtue. You collect likes and call it loyalty. But in the court, alliances last only while they are useful. A favor buys a nod, not a future. When costs rise, love thins. When conflict appears, the orchestra stops. And you learn who was listening for the music and who was only watching the crowd. You do it too. You hide sharp questions because truth might close a door. You praise mediocrity because you want the invite. You trade your standards for comfort and rename the bargain kindness. This is the hidden game. You choose peace with others over peace with yourself, and then you wonder why you feel small. You confuse being liked with being respected. You confuse being noticed with being needed. You mistake noise for proof. Approval is a warm room with a locked window. You fall asleep while your life goes stale. If you want out, stop playing the courtier. Choose reality over ceremony. Tell the truth about your results. Tell the truth about your patterns. Withdraw the subsidy you pay to your excuses. Learn to stand without the balcony. Power is not loud, it is consistent. Start with one street in your city. Clear the fog there. Pave it, light it, walk it daily until your steps are law. Choose reality. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Most people won't say this out loud, but their choices whisper it every day. Love is celebrated when it costs nothing. Loyalty is paraded when it risks nothing. Goodness is praised so long as it requires nothing. When the bill arrives, time, money, reputation, the room clears. You've seen it at work, at home, online, loud affection turning into quiet absence. Public promises dissolving when private pressure rises. The effective truth is simple and cold. People love while it's convenient. They stay while it's cheap. They cheer while the sun is warm. When the clouds roll in, affection gets audited like any other line item, and only what is useful survives the cut. Love or usefulness? In the office, the teammate who showered your promotion with hearts forgets your name when the deadline needs your slot, not your smile. The manager who called you family in the boom suddenly talks in spreadsheets when revenue dips. Your hours vanish behind a kind tone and a link to wellness resources. At home, the partner who adored your ambition becomes impatient when your late nights stop serving their mood. The friend who praised your courage goes busy the moment your crisis interrupts their plans. You don't need grand betrayals to see it. Watch who shows up when there is no spotlight, no gain, no audience. That is love measured in the only currency that counts, cost. Machiavelli's rule is brutal because it is honest. Affection is weather, interest is climate. Bonds behave like leases, renewed while the price is right. When costs rise, time, money, exposure, usefulness is the first line read. In a startup, the chorus sings, "We're in this together." But the moment the runway shrinks, resumes quietly update. In a friend group, everyone swears always here, yet a 5 a.m. ride request drains the thread of replies. This doesn't mean love is fake. It means love shares a house with interest, and interest pays the mortgage. If you want a clearer picture, test without bitterness. Ask for the inconvenient favor. Notice who tells you hard truth at a personal risk. Replace vows with verifications. And for your own part, be useful, never a doormat, always dependable. Results generate respect. Respect outlasts mood. Now the second illusion, the mask of virtue. Public virtue is a paid performance, a costume tailored to earn credit and avoid damage. People are generous when the camera is on and the stakes are low, tender in captions, ruthless in silence. Picture the coworker who posts about compassion, yet ignores a junior teammate who begs for 30 minutes of instruction. Imagine the influencer who speaks on mental health, then bullies a freelancer who requests the agreed fee. Watch the executive who quotes kindness on stage and cuts the support staff by email after midnight. When reputation is threatened, the velvet glove drops, the sweet words curdle into legal language. The sermon on empathy yields to the sentence, "Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control." You have done it too. You forward a meal train link to look supportive, but never bring a meal. You repost a cause and skip the meeting where the dull, necessary work happens. You say, "Let me know how I can help," because you know most people won't ask again. The stage is crowded because applause is easy and labor is hard. Machiavelli warned that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. We craft images because images win quickly, but the hand builds the city. The hand breaks a habit, answers the midnight call, keeps a deadline, returns the money, admits the fault, pays the price. When trouble comes, the mask is useless. Only the hand can lift the weight. So write a different policy. Promise less, deliver more. Keep commitments small enough to keep, but sharp enough to matter. If you say you'll help, set a time and a task. If you say you care, accept the inconvenience that care requires. Let your reputation lag behind your actions. Let proof, not pose, do the talking. In a world of masks, an unadorned face becomes rare, and therefore powerful. You won't need slogans if your calendar is evidence. The third illusion is comfort. A soft ruler with quiet hands, comfort rarely shouts. It suggests tomorrow, after this episode. When things calm down, you're not lazy, you say, you're pacing yourself. But the couch is a minister of delay and the phone is its choir. Scroll, laugh, scroll, agree. Hour by hour, your will gets paper cut into dullness. Comfort promises recovery and delivers erosion. You surrender terrain in inches, sleep, attention, ambition, until your life becomes a smaller room with nicer pillows. Comfort feels harmless because it rarely demands. It simply asks for later and then collects interest in lost days. Comfort governs with gifts. Sugar for stress, praise for passivity, novelty for numbness. It persuades you that risk is reckless and excellence is elitist. It sells balance as a polite word for drift. But Fortuna chance has no pity for the comfortable. Storms visit everyone. Without buffers and discipline, you meet them with soft hands and thin skin. The day the market turns, the day the relationship cracks, the day the diagnosis lands, comfort cannot negotiate on your behalf. It can only offer the soft blanket you used to hide the hard work you avoided. See the policy of surrender clearly. You obey comfort more than truth. When mood writes your schedule, you obey comfort when you choose the flattering meeting over the hard practice. You obey comfort when you keep friends who make you feel safe, but keep you average. Then you claim bad luck when your results match your rituals. This is not fate, this is governance. You ran your state for vibe, not for strength. So draft the counter policy. Choose small discomforts that build large capacity. A cold start to the morning. A strict boundary around your focus hour. A refusal to promise what you will not deliver. A weekly audit of accounts, calendar, and energy. Not because suffering is holy, but because power is trained. You are not a victim of Fortuna if you prepare for her mood swings. Savings as a buffer, skills as weapons, allies who will tell you the hard thing. You don't need to be feared. You need to be dependable. Dependability is the quiet crown that outlasts applause. When illusions fall, resentment tempts you. Don't take the bait. People aren't demons for protecting their interests. The court isn't evil for preferring a good show. Comfort isn't a sin. It is simply a ruler who wants a quiet kingdom. Your job is not to preach against them. Your job is to understand them, then set policy over them. You want loyalty? Make it earned and reciprocal. You want virtue? Price it into your habits. You want peace? Build it today, brick by brick. So Fortuna finds you fortified tomorrow. You cannot control how others feel. You can control how you test, how you act, how you train. Strip the illusions gently but completely. Replace fantasy with evidence. Replace declarations with decisions. Replace soft rulers with firm laws. Trade comfort for strength and illusions for truth. The city of your mind wakes under torchlight, and the banners are not yours. Down the alleys, factions whisper. Old wounds own palaces on the hill. House rejection, house shame, house abandonment, with guards and scribes rewriting your laws while you sleep. You think you rule because your name is on the coins, but in the market of daily choices, merchants pay tribute to older powers. A teacher's insult still taxes your courage. A parent's chill skims every friendship. A teenage betrayal collects a levy on trust. These families lobby your attention and tilt your decisions. Walk with me through Florence at night. Lanterns swing. The river mutters like a tired judge. In one alley, your hunger for approval bargains with a memory of neglect. In another, a watchman named Pride demands you never look weak, even with a broken gate at your back. Guilds meet in secret. The guild of overwork trades sleep for applause. The guild of avoidance postpones every difficult conversation to prove it can. These are not theories. They are families with budgets, allies, and spies. They recruit your attention with flattery and fright, and they pay you in habits. Your calendar is the public square where they parade. Mark the day you stretched yourself thin to keep a promise no one asked for. House shame bought that time. Mark the lunch you skipped to answer messages you feared to ignore. House rejection wrote that ordinance. Mark the way a casual text sent soldiers down the avenues of your nervous system, building barricades before any enemy appeared. When you say, "That's just how I am," the factions cheer. A prince who confuses habit for law is easy to rule. That is how your palace becomes their office. Fear and hope are the twin demagogues of this city. Fear sells safety, loud and quick. Hope sells fantasy, soft and slow. They campaign without rest. Fear climbs a barrel and shouts, "Stay inside, lock the gates." They will laugh, they will leave, they will take what you show. It points to your scars and calls them prophecies. Then hope glides past in a velvet coat. Wait, the perfect day is coming. No risk, only alignment. The right mentor, the right partner, the right sign, between the alarm bell and the lullaby. Your city votes for paralysis. When fear governs you, you become the fox without the lion. Clever, slippery, always hedging. You dodge the pitch by scheduling a meeting about the meeting. You soften your ask until it becomes an apology. You forge alliances on flattery. You do not mean you survive the morning and lose the year. When hope governs you, you become the lion without the fox, roaring declarations, banging the table, promising 4 impossible reforms by Friday. For a day you feel like a conqueror, by the weekend your council scrambles to clean the mess. Look carefully at last month's moves. Where did you bluff because an old rejection made, "I don't know," feel like exile? Where did you roar because a childhood of being unseen trained you to thunder to be heard? The demagogues know your history. They tune their speeches to your scar tissue. They rebrand secrecy as prudence when it is only fear of intimacy. They rebrand noise as courage when it is only fear of quiet. If you do not elect a ruler within, discipline joined to strategy, your city becomes a carnival of impulses. Necessita is the law. You cannot vote down what you refuse will govern you. Avoid the honest talk, and necessity drafts a public crisis. Hide the invoice, and necessity appoints a collector with interest. Ignore the lump, and necessity appoints a surgeon. Ship code with brittle tests, and necessity appoints a midnight pager that rings like a sentence. Call the relationship fine while drifting toward contempt. And necessity seats a judge whose gavel is silence at breakfast. Delay is not peace. It is the slow construction of a trap. Consider 3 cases. First, the conversation you fear with your manager. You rehearse a month of polite half-complaints, praying the weather shifts. It doesn't, workloads stack. Resentment poisons your tone. 1 blunt hour of truth would have cost sweat. 3 months of delay cost reputation. Second, the budget you refuse to face. You double-click the cart because fog feels like permission. A year later, the fog clears into a letter with a balance you cannot defend. 10 minutes a week with a ledger would have spared you the letter and the shame. Third, health. You postpone the check because nothing screams. Months pass. The quiet symptom becomes a command. Now you obey doctors, schedules, and pills you never planned to take. Necessity is not cruel, it is indifferent. It does not care about your intentions. It enforces reality at scale. So appoint necessity as teacher. Machiavelli would tell you fortune favors those who build banks and dams. The river still rises, but the city does not drown. Boldness here is not noise. It is governance. Hold a weekly council and ask without pity, which faction did I indulge? Which gate stands unguarded? Which law did I refuse to enforce? Then pass 1 law you will keep, not 10. For example, no decisions after midnight. Every important ask written, not hinted. A budget review every Friday at 5. Return to the city at dawn. The fog thins. You send the courtiers home. You walk the alleys and mark the stalls where the old families collect tribute. Name the tolls. When I feel ignored, I buy attention I cannot afford. When I feel small, I say yes to earn a pat on the head. When I feel threatened, I raise my voice to break the silence. Law is born from naming, then balance fox and lion. Ask the sharp question that gathers real information. Make the decisive cut that stops the slow bleed. Cunning and force in balance. Do not promise a revolution you cannot staff. Promise a policy you can enforce today. 10 minutes of stillness before the court opens. 3 decisions that will tighten your walls. 1 conversation where you say the plain thing without a performance. 1 boundary you defend without a speech. These are small acts, but they change who holds the keys. The city learns, the factions feel the budget shrink. Hope, restrained by plan, becomes fuel. Fear, restrained by proof, becomes signal. And the prince returns to the throne by merit, not myth. You are not broken. You are occupied. Evict what governs by rumor. Elect what governs by evidence. And when the night comes, light your own lamps. Meet necessity early and rule. The music stops before you are ready, and the room remembers its true size. The message arrives at 7:41 a.m. Due to restructuring, your badge still works, but your calendar dies in an hour. By noon, the group chat is quiet. By evening, your friends are thinking of you but not nearby. A partner who once waited for your train now measures your value in minutes. No poetry, only the effective truth. The court has turned affection rented by convenience has been recalled. Status on loan has reached its due date. You are not cursed. You are audited. The figures are cold, but they are fair. They tell you what your policies really purchased. When the court turns on you, it is not a conspiracy of villains, it is gravity. People move toward warmth, away from cost. In the bright season, you were a bonfire, news, introductions, invitations. Now the weather flips. Colleagues who toasted you avoid the draft from your open door. The boss speaks as if reading a decree sent from weather itself. Realignment, different direction. We appreciate your contributions. You search for the one sentence that will reverse the tide. It does not exist. You stop pleading with weather and start planning for climate. Sober recognition protects you from sentimental ruin. You return the borrowed crowns, the title that made you louder, the circle that made you taller, the compliments that drugged your sleep. You strip the palace walls and find the load-bearing beams, skills you own, standards you enforce, habits under your command. Misfortune is not only loss, it is measurement. The audit hurts, but it is precise. It shows where you confused mood for method, applause for leverage, busyness for power. Then comes the sting of public embarrassment. You lose face, the microphone dies during your speech. Your code fails in the demo, your private fight leaks onto the timeline. You flush, you stammer, you feel small. Good. The mask is heavy, losing it lightens the neck. Reputation is a costume rented one night at a time. Inner authority is a uniform you tailor for life. The crowd judges by the eye, governance judges by the hand. Which do you serve? Without the old image to defend, you can finally tell the truth about what you want and what you will no longer trade. Humiliation can be a clean wound if you treat it quickly. Perform the triage. Machiavelli would respect. First, stop the bleed. No denial, no extravagant promises, no frantic rebranding. Second, secure the perimeter. Protect sleep, protect cash, protect your word. Third, open a ledger and write in ink what this failure taught. Charm cannot close a deficit. Signaling cannot cover an empty warehouse. Certainty without evidence is fraud. In that moment, losing face saves the self. The city inside you replaces spectacle with standards. There is a night after a fall when the house is quiet and the throne room echoes. The chair is toppled. The guards have nothing to guard. In that silence, you appoint a ruler. If you appoint panic, it will race through the alleys, declaring emergencies, burning goodwill for heat, trading long-term power for short-term comfort. Panic will call old lovers, write reckless emails, swipe credit it cannot repay. Panic will sell your future at a street price. If you appoint virtue, discipline joined to clear seeing and steady action, it will move slowly, but it will move you forward. Picture the toppled chair as a lesson, not a tombstone. You lift it only after you reinforce the floor. That means inventories. What cash remains for 3 months of calm? What skills are sharp enough to trade by next week? Which allies speak when you are not shining? Who tells you the hard sentence you need, not the soft paragraph you crave? You mark them. You pay them with honesty and with results. You build buffers like a river city before spring flood. Cut costs, widen options, add exits. Fortuna still turns, but your walls do not fall with every gust. Precision over sentiment. Craft a small plan that fits inside today. One job application written in spare, strong language. One call to the person who can actually hire you, not the one who merely admires you. 1 hour to rebuild a skill that earns, not a hobby that distracts. One boundary stated and defended. I will not make promises to stay liked. Your calendar becomes a treaty with yourself. Your phone becomes a tool, not a wound. Your inbox becomes a market stall you open and close on time. Quietly, you exchange noise for proof. As you do this, pride will whisper that you must restore the spectacle. It will tell you to post a brave thread that sounds like leadership. Resist. Appearances are armor, not identity. Wear them when the arrows fly. Remove them when it is time to heal. Let proof lag behind practice. The city needs roads, not banners. Each morning you keep the new law budget checked, outreach made, training done. You thicken your steps. You walk with the weight that comes from kept promises, not from borrowed crowns. And if grief pulls you under, don't fight like a dancer. Fight like an engineer. Build routines that carry you when will does not. Eat at fixed times. Move your body even when spirit stalls. Read an old book to steady your hand. Limit advice to 3 voices who have actually built, lost, and rebuilt. The point is not to feel indestructible. The point is to be governable by your best laws when you feel destroyed. Commander, this collapse is the hardest teacher you can afford. It shows the exact price of softness. It shows the friends of weather and the friends of winter. It shows what happens when you lease identity to reputation and peg security to goodwill. Now you buy yourself back. Not with speeches, but with structure. Not with drama, but with daily proof. You take the empty throne only when your hands are calloused enough to hold it without trembling. Stand in the quiet and choose your ruler. Panic is quick. Virtue is slow. Panic spends. Virtue builds. Lift the chair only when the room is ready to bear its weight. Then sit without ceremony and govern like someone who has counted the cost. No crowns on loan, only standards I enforce. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. You wanted a fable, but the effective truth is colder. People protect their stakes, not your story. What you named love was often alignment. 2 paths moving together because the terrain made it easy. Then the weather changed, interests moved, incentives shifted, the roads forked and you called it betrayal. But it was mathematics. Alignment feels like destiny until the numbers no longer fit. Recognize it without drama and you recover your sight. Interests, not fairy tales. Alignment feels like love because it is frictionless. Schedules match, needs dovetail, costs are low. You say soulmate, but the ledger says fit at work. A manager believes in you while the budget is fat and your output advances their plan. When revenue thins, belief cools into a spreadsheet and you become a line to be trimmed. In romance, affection flows when your drive flatters their image and your time covers their gaps. When those gaps close or widen, affections migrate. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. Where incentives change, loyalties rearrange. Clarity does not demand bitterness. It demands measurement. Who takes a real risk for you when there is no applause? Who pays a cost to keep a promise? Whose I care arrives with action and a receipt? Replace candlelight myths with a sober ledger, not to cheapen love, but to honor it. Love proved by sacrifice becomes policy, chosen again in the rain. Anything else is weather, pleasant, changing, beyond control. You cannot command sentiment, but you can verify commitment. Now consider kindness without leverage. Warmth without boundaries breeds quiet contempt. If you are always available, you are rarely respected. You reply in seconds, cancel plans, float weekends, extend loans, swallow slights, and call it generosity. But generosity without policy becomes subsidy. You teach people that your time is free and your standards negotiable. A state that neglects its laws invites invasion. In life, your laws are limits, routines, and consequences. Case study. You are the dependable one on the team. You pick up late tasks, patch errors quietly, shield others from heat. The court praises your spirit, then heaps more on your plate. When you finally ask for fairness, they are shocked. Your past policies taught them there was no price, or the friend who calls at midnight. Rides, money, crisis talk. You answer every time. They thank you in emojis then vanish. When you need a dawn pickup, you are not cursed. You are a government without enforcement. Where laws are absent, exploitation becomes tradition. Kindness is strongest when it stands on a spine. A spine is policy, rules you apply to yourself first. I do not cancel training for casual invites. I do not lend money without dates and amounts. I do not promise what I cannot deliver. Small, clear laws prevent large, messy wars. People may pout. Let them. Pouting is cheaper than peace. Over time, those who value you will fit the policy. Those who only valued your softness will drift to other borders. You are not colder, you are clearer, and clarity is a form of respect. Now admit the hard sentence. You misread the map. You navigated by wishes, not landmarks. You followed glowing words down dark alleys and called the glow destiny. When the road vanished, you blamed fate instead of checking the compass. This is not a crime, it is a course correction. Draw a better map, rooted in evidence, incentives, and tested loyalty. Evidence, track actions, not adjectives. Incentives, ask what each person gains and what it costs them. Price your asks accordingly. Tested loyalty, require small, real thresholds. Keep a time, hold a confidence, accept a boundary. Trust that cannot pass through inconvenience is missed. Build your map with checkpoints, 30-day reviews of commitments, quarterly renegotiation of roles, explicit exchanges instead of vague hopes. Write routes in pencil so you can rechart without shame. Keep a reserve of time, cash, and energy so you are never forced to flatter for access. When conditions change, adjust terms instead of composing speeches. It saves everyone from the chaos of unspoken expectations and the bitterness that follows broken fantasies. Governance replaces grievance. Spend less breath on speeches and more effort on structure. If someone cannot meet you where the road is paved, stop building bridges to their island. If a partnership survives honest accounting, honor it with steadiness and speed. Show up not as a romantic hero, but as a reliable state with clear laws, good roads, and open gates for those who travel in good faith. The fairy tale isn't destroyed, it matures. It becomes a treaty signed after inspection, renewed by performance, not poetry. You do not need to harden into ice. You need to anchor into truth. Be warm and wise. Welcome alignment when it returns, but do not worship it. Respect the terms and reserve the right to renegotiate. Let kindness ride in a well-built carriage of standards. Let affection pass audits. Let promises be collateralized by proof. The less you need from flattery, the freer you are to love what is real. No more fables, only terms I can keep and trust that keeps me. Steel your will. Govern yourself first, or you will be governed by whatever shouts loudest inside you. Begin with an inventory of power, not dreams, assets. What can you do on demand, even on a dull day? List it without poetry. Skills you can sell in a week, knowledge you can teach, tools you already own. Then your outer assets: cash in the bank, credit you can open, gear you can rent, rooms you can use, licenses that unlock doors. Count time like money. Morning focus hours, commute minutes, evening energy. Health is capital, sleep, strength, stamina, because a tired state cannot defend its borders. Relationships are roads. Who answers your call? Who tells you the hard truth? Who introduces you without being asked? Put numbers next to each line so you can watch them rise. Now write your laws in your arms. Laws are simple rules you keep, even when no one watches. I do the first hard task by 10. I don't promise what I won't deliver. I answer money with contracts, not emojis. Post these where you work and where you drift. Arms are consequences, quiet, consistent, ready. If someone breaks a boundary, the cost arrives without speeches. The meeting ends, access shrinks, the project pauses. If you break your own law, you pay a fine. You feel no entertainment until the task is done. An early wake-up tomorrow, a donation you would rather keep. Laws set shape, arms give teeth. Carry both fox and lion into daily life. Fox first read motives, not slogans. Ask precise questions that pin ideas to numbers. What problem are we solving? By when? Who signs and with what budget? What happens if we miss? Demand proof, even from your own excitement. Vet a romance the same way. What do you want in 6 months? How do you handle conflict? What did your last partner thank you for? Information is armor. Gather it before you step. Then the lion, make the decisive cut. End the chat that drains time. Ship the rough draft. Walk into the negotiation and speak the price without a tremor. The fox prevents foolish risk. The lion prevents endless delay. Use cruelty well. Sharp, rare, timely. Cruelty here is necessary firmness that prevents larger harm. You prune a branch to save the tree. You remove a contractor after the third missed deadline, so the product survives. You block the friend who will not respect your no, not to win a scene but to end a cycle. The rule: early, small, honest. Early means before resentment ferments into sarcasm. Small means the least force that changes behavior. Honest means you name the exact breach and the next step. This is not rage. This is surgery for the sake of the body you want to keep. Treat appearances as armor, not a prison. Image lowers friction. It is not your soul. Dress to match the room and protect your intent. Speak with fewer words and longer pauses so people can hear the weight of what you say. Keep your digital profile lean and accurate. Projects shipped, lessons learned, ways to reach you. Avoid the costume of extremes. The clown who begs for a laugh. The phantom who hides behind fog. You choose the mask that fits the mission and take it off at home. If you mistake armor for identity, you will fight to defend fabric and lose the aim. Manage Fortuna with buffers and options. Luck still rules the sea, but you can build a ship with compartments. Savings buy you time to say no. Multiple skills buy you routes when one path floods. Diverse allies buy you information before the storm hits. Build a modest reserve in all categories. Cash to cover 3 months, skills that earn across industries, health routines that work even when travel scrambles the day, 2 or 3 mentors in different arenas who will answer when you send the blunt question. Options turn panic into choices. Choices turn luck into weather instead of fate. End with the weekly counsel. 30 minutes, same time. No drama. Open your ledger. What did you promise? What did you deliver? What did you postpone? And why? Celebrate one proof, not a mood. Something with a date and a file. Note one failure without excuses. Then set the smallest repair you can finish in 2 days. Review your laws. Did you keep them? If not, pay the fine now. Review your arms. Did consequences arrive calmly? If not, you are training people to ignore you, including yourself. Move on to next moves. 1 ally to contact. 1 risk to take. 1 habit to reinforce. Close the council and return to work. Examples will anchor this. Inventory. You list 5 billable skills and see 2 are rusty. You schedule short lessons before breakfast for 10 days and ship a sample project by day 11. Laws and arms. You set a rule that deep work occurs from 8 to 10, you mute notifications, and anyone who needs you learns to book after 10. Fox and lion. You investigate a great opportunity by asking who owns the customer. The answers wobble, so you decline and use the freed hour to send 3 targeted pitches that lead to 1 meeting on the calendar. Cruelty well used. You end a polite but draining collaboration with a clear sentence and a handover doc, and within a week your energy returns. Armor, not prison. You update your bio to reflect current work and remove slogans that never paid rent. Buffers and options. You open a small savings account that auto-transfers every Friday and enroll in a weekend course that multiplies the ways you can earn. This is not a sprint for heroes. This is a craft for adults. What you repeat becomes law. What you measure becomes clear. What you enforce becomes culture. Each small act of governance makes the next decision lighter. You become dependable to yourself, and that reliability radiates. People stop testing your edges because your edges answer for you. Fortune still turns, but you hold the helm without shaking. You do not need to be feared. You need to be consistent. Choose standards that fit your life as it is, not as a movie. Protect them with quiet steel. Adjust them when evidence requires. Keep the fox awake. Keep the lion on a leash. Keep your masks in a drawer. Keep your ledger honest. Keep your counsel brief. This is virtue made daily. Discipline with eyes open. Action with nerves steady. Dignity without noise. I govern myself. Then my life obeys. Peace is not a gift. It is a government you run every day. Picture a small, well-kept state at dusk. The gates are secure, the lamps steady, the market honest. Nothing grand, nothing gilded, just order. Your life can be this. Limited, yes, but free. You choose fewer streets so you can patrol them well. You keep books simple so you can pay them on time. You set hours that fit the body you actually have, not the hero you play online. Breakfast at the same table. Work that starts with the hard task, not the shiny task. A room cleared of objects that drain, filled with tools that feed. You do not chase every invitation. You answer the few that match your aims. This is not smallness. It is sovereignty within the walls you can truly hold. You maintain this state with quiet policies. Save a modest sum every week so emergencies become errands. Write your 3 targets each morning and strike them before noon. Guards sleep like a fortress. Screens down, blinds shut, the world told tomorrow. Practice ending conversations when they turn to smoke. You owe no theater to the board. Keep a short list of allies and ask clearly for what helps them and what helps you. When the storm comes, and it will, the city bends but does not snap. Because the gates were checked. Because the lamps were trimmed. Because you ruled before you were tested. When love returns, let it find strength. not pleading, affection that arrives at an orderly gate will feel safer than applause ever felt. You do not beg for entry. You open the door you built and say, "Welcome, here are my laws." Kindness flows more cleanly when anchored to self-respect. You do not promise forever. You promise today's proof, attention given, boundaries kept, words matched to deeds. If a partner or friend truly honors you, they will respect the posted rules. How you work, what you need, what you will not trade. This is not coldness. It is warmth, guided by rails, love kept by respect, survives weather better than love fueled by spectacle. Be ready for seasons. There will be weeks when work swells and tenderness thins. Do not panic. Keep your policies steady and your voice gentle. There will be days when grief visits without warning. Make space at the table and feed it quietly, then return to the ledger. A composed state welcomes joy without addiction and carries pain without collapse. You live at a pace that lessens the need for apologies. You give people predictability, the soft luxury that costs you little and earns you much. What grows in that climate? Trust. What follows? Trust, peace. Now seal it, choose reality. No more theater, no more explaining what your life really is. Make it real or release it. The effective truth of who you are is visible in your calendar, your accounts, your tone under pressure. If the facts sting, let them. They are the surgeon, not the executioner. Trim the story to match the stone you can lift today. Refuse flattery when it tries to rent your throne. Refuse gloom when it tries to tax your future. Reality is not an enemy. It is the law that rewards those who obey it early. Decide this hour what your state will do tonight. One promise kept, one room cleared, one expense cut, one call made to the person who matters. Do it without noise. Post no speeches. Let the lamp of proof burn where you can see it and where others may find it if they come. Live as the steward of simple good things, clean water, honest books, steady hands. Fortune will still turn her wheel. She always does. But you will meet her with buffers, with friends who can carry one corner, with skills that convert bad weather into workable days. Rule small, rule well, and your borders will stretch as far as your strength can guard them. This is hard hope. Not a song, a discipline, a way of walking that leaves a string of quiet confirmations behind you. You will not be the loudest. You will be the one who endures. I choose order daily, and peace answers.